I'm gonna get in my position and we'll get started out.
Okay.
So yeah, the exhibition's called Diasporic Entropic Diremption and the Cross-Cultural Cross, which we're not really going to talk about today because that's a whole different conversation. Today we want to talk with Al Bolton about his collecting. And like you saw, we have 3 Kota reliquaries in the exhibition that Al donated, which we're incredibly grateful for, or loaned, let's say, not donated. And for me, Kota has been important for quite a while. And the Kota reliquary is even in the logo of the gallery, if you'll notice. So this kind of completes a story for me, having actual Kotas in the exhibition space. Al Bolton, I guess for transparency, should just say up front that Al is my accountant. Thanks to Luis Arabia, my partner, who has been with Al for 20 years. And over the years, we've just seen his office there, which you see behind him, just fill up with African art. And of course, we end up talking as much about the art as we do our taxes. And but always getting little bits and pieces, you know, because there was never really time to sit down and talk about it completely. So this is an opportunity for us to ask Al those interesting questions about how he acquires the work, what it is and how it is that he got into collecting. I mean, and the somewhat complex relationships and requirements to actually get the work, because this work is purchased in Africa and Burkina Faso, primarily through some of your friends that are on from Africa today as dealers and as contacts. So Al's going to, I guess, help clarify some of how one goes about doing such a thing, which is, it's not like you walk into an art gallery and just buy the work, right, Al?
That's right. At least I do. I'm an African art collector who travels to Africa to get all of my pieces. Right now, I have about 600 pieces, and I consider myself a mask hunter. I actually title myself a mask hunter because I go to Africa with the intent to try to find certain masks. And I'll tell you why I think that's good or bad at the end of my presentation. But if you're going to be a mask hunter or do something like what I'm doing, then there's 2 things I think you need to have, you need to understand going to Africa to buy masks. One is T.I.A. Very important. T.I.A. stands for This is Africa. What that means is anything can happen. Anything can happen, so you need to be ready. Don't get so comfortable. Don't get so rigid. Don't get, just kind of always keep your eye on what's going on around you. Just be prepared. And part of the counter, what helps you in that is what I call go with the flow. Like water, be like water, just flow. When things happen, just let it take you to where it's gonna go. Just relax, don't panic, just go with it, go. You may have to stop what you intended to do. You may have to change direction. You may have to, go somewhere you don't want to go for whatever it is, and then you can figure it out from there, but just go with the flow. That's been basically the lesson that we've gone through. So those are the 2 concepts to remember when you're there. Don't get too comfortable, always be alert, or always, and be prepared. Sometimes it just doesn't work and you just gotta let that go. Yes, you spent money and time and all that, but just gotta let it go because it's important for you to get in and get out safely. That's the best thing I'm gonna say. What I wanna do is tell you the story about my first African festival. This particular story takes place in 2016. I had been going back and forth to Africa. I've been buying work already. had accumulated maybe by that time about 150 to 200 pieces of work. And there came this desire to see the mask in action. You know, every time you speak to a dealer, you say, what do they use this mask for? Oh, they do it for the planting ceremony. What do they do? Oh, they do this for the burial. Well, what's involved with that? So I spoke to my partner, Falou, and let me just stop for a moment and introduce Falou. He's here. Falou is from America. He was born in Passaic, raised in Newark, and he started traveling around Africa in the 1980s. He eventually settled there. He's married, has a son there, so maybe he's about 14, speaks French fluently, and of course he knows the English. He's my contact. When I go there, I speak no French. I go there, he says everything I have to say. He tells me in English everything that's going on, so I'm not really lost. But he's really the one that kind of makes it all go. And he's the negotiator, he's this, he's that. He kind of lets me know when I'm, I go there, I'm over 70 years old, and I go there with the enthusiasm of a teenager. I want to jump into this, I want to jump into that. And, you need somebody to, keep you in check so you don't really overstep what's happening there. I do get really excited. You probably hear it already. But so Falou is the key as we go. So as I'm telling this story, just know it's me and Falou. We're experiencing everything together. What I go through, he's going through. I don't eat, he don't eat. If I'm in danger, he's in danger. When we have to make a decision, we're making that decision together. It's my story, but you got to know it's our story. That's basically what I want to say about this. So in 2016, right after tax season, I traveled to Africa and I bought some pieces, and this was in April. Tax season ended April 15th, and I was in Africa April 23rd. I was anxious to go, but I was also trying to inquire. I wanted to see a mass festival. Most mass festivals in Africa take place from February to April. Tax season is February to April. So it was always hard for me to go to any of these festivals. But in Ivory Coast, they do have a mass festival that takes place in the later part of the year. It's an annual Dan festival, Dan tribe, and it usually takes place the end of November, sometime in November, early December. And that's doable for me. So I said, if you know when they're going to have the next festival, I'll come. So I got a call late October. Oh, they're going to have, we know there's going to be a festival soon in November. So I booked a flight, flew there, and we waited to attend the annual Dan Festival. And what we would do is every day we would try to go to our dealers and other contacts to see when is this festival going to take place. My intent initially was to fly there. It's about 350 miles from Abidjan. Abidjan's the capital. I fly from America into Abidjan. And Ma, the place where the Dan tribe was located and where the festival was taking place, is about 350 miles away. And I wanted to fly there. But we needed to get a date so we can get the plane and all of that. I want to fly there, fly back. And after about 8-9 days, the word came to us, the festival's been called off this year. The government is taking it over. They're going to do something different, and there's no festival. And I was due to leave in about 5 days. And, we had been there waiting and waiting. And I was all kind of sad. And the same night, we got the word that there is going to be no festival. Falou gets a call about the small tribe, the Torah tribe, is having their festival in Math. And they have to do it because they are late with the festival. And that we have a chance, if we could go right away, to see this festival. So we got up 5 the next morning. We went down to the bus station. We had to, kind of juggle our way to get a ticket. We got 2 tickets. And, by 6 or 7 o'clock, we were sitting on the bus. Now, this is the first start of the story where it really gets interesting. We're used to bus rides in America and all that. Everybody gets a seat. If it's crowded, you stand, you hold on to the rail. Well, this was the first eye opener for me. We were sitting near the back and they came and said, you got to get up from here. We need these seats. So they put us in another spot about the middle of the bus. And slowly the bus started filling up. They're pulling big boxes in the back 2 or 3 seats. You can't see out the back window. You're looking under the bus. Well, I'm looking out the window and they're stuffing stuff in the window. People are starting to climb on. People are bringing all sorts of goods and bags and rice and grain, and they're filling up the aisles. People were buying seats and they're sitting in the aisles on top of the grains and the flip-flops and all of the stuff that's going to be traveling back to Mad. The place was packed. You couldn't get out of your seat. And the trip was supposed to take about 7 hours, and the bus took off. And, you can't move. Flu had a woman kind of go to sleep on his shoulder. She's sitting on the bag in the aisle. And after about 5 hours, they stop and you can kind of get out and kind of relieve yourself. People would go up a hill, women to the right, men to the left. And in order to get out, you had to climb over the seats. You couldn't walk through the aisle. So you actually had to physically climb over the seats to get out. We had left early in the morning. We always carry a bottle of water. That's basically all we had. When they made the stop, there was sort of people selling food, open food, bread, and cooking and all that. We didn't eat that, but we bought us a bag of peanuts, and that became our meal. And it took about 9 hours for us to reach Mad. But when we got to Mad, we had to go to this village, Dantoba, a village where we sort of got a hotel, and we were meeting our representative there, Mumini. And we met Mumini. We arranged for a car to take us up to the tribe that next morning, and we went to our hotel. The next morning, the car came and took us, and we started our trip. And it's beautiful. This place they call it 18 mountains. It's just mountain ranges, greenery, forest. And we're starting up the hill, and there's a police checkpoint. They look in the car to make sure that, everything's kosher with us and that we can, go. They knew Mumini, they knew the driver, and they waved us forward. And we're traveling up the hill, and I'm seeing this beautiful. You see banana trees and plants, and it's green and green. I mean, you never see it so fertile. And I took out my camera, and I'm shooting the scenery, and decided to put my camera on top of the car so we could see in front, because as you see these leaves, as we're driving, you see this canopy of green opening up with the road. And we're traveling up there about 10 or 15 minutes. I get this thing, take the camera down, take the camera down. And I'm like, what's going on? They take the camera down. 2 soldiers were there. They stopped the car. And one soldier comes running over to me. You get out the car, you. And I'm looking like, I don't know French. I'm stupid. Blue's telling me, okay, get out the car. He wants to see the camera. And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Okay, well, what's going on with the camera? And it turns out this was sort of an illegal road stop. The soldiers were out there collecting money, and they were saying, hey, we didn't get paid, we need money. So they were collecting money from the travelers. So the soldier that had told me, he was kind of tall, and he's telling Falou's interpreting for me. He said he wants to see the pictures in the camera. So I had a camcorder, and I'm, looking at the screen. The soldier's leaning on me. I mean, he put his full body on me. I feel like I was holding him up and myself. And we're going trying to scroll through through the pictures to see what I have. Meanwhile, Falou is talking to the older soldier. I think he was a colonel, and he's bonding with the guy and trying to, kind of smooth things out while this guy's looking through the picture. And as we're going through it, you hear sound, but there's no film, there's no pictures. And what had happened was the cap, the lens cap, I had probably hit the closing cap latch by error, and there was no film. We didn't take any pictures. And so we traced the thing all the way back to me taking pictures in the hotel. We did that twice, and he saw there was no picture. But they were still kind of upset. They said, because we don't know if you're a journalist. We don't know who you are. We don't know why you're here. This and that. This is illegal. We can get into trouble. And so meanwhile, Falou had bonded with this other guy. Turns out this other officer, I think he was a colonel, was from the same tribe as Falou's wife. And they had kind of smoothed things out. We gave them some CFAs, some money, maybe about $10 in American money, and we were allowed to go. But that was the first kind of eye opener. A little bit further up, we reached the village. The village was way up, almost to the top of the mountain. And we disembarked there, and Mumini went over to speak to the religious leader. And he kind of, what we always do when we travel, and we always give a gift. Give us some seafood, some money, and he presented the gift. And they talked for a while, and then Valley came over and says, "Okay, they're going to let us participate, let us see the ceremony, and we're going to be allowed to film." And so that's kind of how we but before we could do that, we had to also go meet the chief. So Mumini took us over to the chief. We sat down. Falou started speaking to him in French and so on and so forth. And they bring a cup of water and they give it to Falou and they say, "Drink." And I said to Falou, "You're not going to drink that water, man. We don't know what's in that water." And he says, "No, you got to drink it, man." I said, "No, you can't be drinking this water." So Falou he drinks about half the cup. And then he's going to give it to me. And I'm hesitating. I mean, I'm germ phobic. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to have to drink this? I don't know if I'm going to do this. And I look at the faces of the chief, and he had like sort of a council of people around him. I realized this is important to them. This is important. So I took it and I drank it. I drank all of it. And when I drank it, they cheered, yeah, yeah, yeah. They jumped up, boom, and the whole thing started. The festival started. And then we realized, okay, they're on the top of a mountain. They have water that starts there and goes down. And that water is crystal clear. It's that type of water where it's that gray with white type looking foam. It's pure. So I felt comfortable when I looked at the water eventually that I know I didn't swallow a couple of parasites and so on and so forth, probably purified by the sun. But that's how it started. And I want to give you a little background view here. This was a picture of the opening ceremony. That greenery is one of the masked performers. There was an opening dance by this performer and another one dressed similar. And they're just rolling all over the ground, dancing all over the place. And it forms a quick crowd, and everybody's crowded around, and they're dancing, and they dance their way. They go up into a particular house or hut, and we're following it with the camera. We're shooting all the way. We're shooting everything, and we go into the hut, and there's a prayer that takes place in that hut. Must have been somebody famous, and they asked us to turn off the camera, so we turned off the camera. They finished their prayer, then they started up with their chanting and stuff, came out the house and danced and went into a sacred cave. They said, you can't go into the cave, so we didn't go into the cave. And it the first phase of it stopped. And when it stopped, we started to look around the village and try to see what's going on. And we ended up going to sort of like a community type area. And over there, they had hold on, let me just get that. They had a statue that guards the village. That statue was more than 100 years old. By the way, to the right here, my right, is Falu. The other person right next to him is Mumini. And this was a villager there. And that's that statue. I'll just duck my head again so you can see the statue, or 100-year-old statue that guards the village. We kind of was there for a little while, waiting for the actual festival to get going, the mass to come out. We sat around for a while. Then suddenly you see all the kids running, and they start, yeah, you're screaming, oh, and you realize, okay, the mass is coming out. And the mass, because they're on the hills, the mass would come up from the hill. Now I gotta kind of paint a little bit about the village. The village is, there's houses on the side. There's a main road that goes through the village, a main dirt road. That's about 600 yards long. That's about how big the village was, about 600 yards. They had houses to the right, to the left, which I'll call the west. We were at houses on the east, the other side of the road. And then the road where it sort of ended was, I'll call that north. Mass came out from those three directions. It came out from where we were. It came from the side of the road. The side of the road was a hill, so it was coming down the hill. And there were mass coming up from the northern part, with the mass performers. And crowds were quickly forming behind each mass area. And the mass seemed to be moving towards the north to join in with the mass that was coming at the beginning of the road. We were flowing with the ones that we were on the east side. And they had a performer. They stopped and did a whole ceremony at this one grave site that turned out to be the grandfather of Mumini. So there was a special ceremony that took place with the mass, and then it kind of started to move towards the north. And as it was moving towards the north, we ran into a group of women. They started dancing and singing. There were circles, and they'd be performers in the circles and coming out and dancing and singing. But everybody still, the whole thing is slowly moving towards the north. And I only have a couple of pictures, but I kind of want you to see kind of what was happening. This is the picture of me. Me there, the mass performer. You can see my face, I'm in it. And it's all moving towards this, all the mass are kind of joining up towards the end of that road. And when they joined up, the women started leading the procession going down the road. And it was a sight. You see all of these people moving in mass, singing, dancing, and there's no music. They're singing with their voices. They only have a goat horn or something. They're blowing, they're clapping, they're doing this rhythmic chant, and this dance with their feet is just chucking down the road and just getting down, man. And it was it was powerful. This is a picture of the women as they're starting to lead the procession down the road. And as they're going down, we're looking and we're filming. And then I had my first crisis. My batteries died. I had no backup. So when it really got exciting, I couldn't film. Falu had his camera. He had his camera, so he started filming on his camera. But eventually it got too dark to even do that. But it was a powerful event. Eventually our car came, picked us up. I hated to go. And we went back to the hotel. And the next day, we had to leave. The festival for the weekend, we were there for Friday, the opening. But I had to go back because I think I was leaving that Sunday on a flight. And T.I.A. You can't time it close. You better make sure you got some time for problems. As we were coming back on the bus, it broke down. We had to wait on the road for about 2 hours for another bus. And then we continued on into Abidjan. I had to pack. Usually when I leave Africa, I'm always taking masks with me. I never leave with just a bag or two. I'm probably always going with overload, 2 more bags, stuffed with artifacts and flying out of there. But that's kind of the story of that particular trip and that particular mass festival. I'm hoping that when you hear the story, you're gonna see certain points that I was emphasizing. The T.I.A. Anything can happen. Who was expecting a second checkpoint? Who was expecting the soldier to almost threaten us if he saw his picture on that phone? And for some province, divine province, maybe the mass working to protect us, whatever it is, there was nothing. And we were able to leave without any type of issue. And this is what I'm talking about. The whole time, I personally wasn't scared. I was just trying to figure out, what am I gonna do? And meanwhile, Flu was, working. He knew what he had to do, and he worked on the colonel, and they let us go. And that's what I'm talking about. Just go with it. We didn't panic. We didn't make any noise. We didn't resist. We just went with it. When we were in the festival, we just flowed with the group that we were with, and we saw really great sights and things open up to us. We were generous. We always go when we visit Africa. We know people are suffering. We know they don't have what we have. They know we're foreigners, and we always, go with gifts. We always try to make sure, we represent ourselves, and we want them to know we care. I have to admit, I've never felt so warmly received as I did in that village. They open up, they let me film. And when I talk about filming, you should know, in every African country, filming it could be controversial. You got to be careful. You got to make sure everybody's comfortable with you filming. Ivory Coast, they don't like their pictures taken. They just don't. And so you got to ask. You got to make sure. I remember my first day there. I had got there. I was so happy. And Blue was taking me. We were in this area called Tressville, where all the people, that's where the action is to me in Abidjan. And the first thing I did was whip out my camera. And as soon as my camera came out, the whole place felt like it stopped. Everybody looked at me. He said, put that camera away, put that camera away. And that's when I realized, hey, be careful, be careful. Yet, when I went to Senegal, nobody mind. You take pictures, everybody, they didn't care. They used to tourists, no trouble. So just that's important. That's an important lesson. When you go to these African countries, just make sure you can film. Everybody doesn't want their picture. They don't want their pictures taken. You may think it's great, they don't. So that was the lesson learned. So I hope you got that. I want to talk a little bit about what I consider the advantages and disadvantages of being a mass hunter. One of the advantages is obvious. When you go there, you have a chance to get mass that's not available to tourists. There are tourist-looking things, and they're all nicely painted and pretty, and there's 50 of them and this and that. But when you go hunting for mass, you go to dealers and all of that, you're going to see masks and get an opportunity to get these masks that you just can't find. I could never find what I have in the streets of New York or some of these shops I've gone to. When I first started collecting, I started in New York, going to a place down on 14th Street in Union Square. There was an African shop over there, and I was buying from this guy the first couple of pieces. And I was never satisfied. All the good stuff was being carried out by other people. They didn't display it to you. So I was always determined I would go to Africa to see what I could find. And so you're going to find mass there that you couldn't normally find anywhere else. And The other part of it, you're going to probably buy it cheaper than they would sell you in New York. I mean, some of the pieces I saw the guy selling in New York, I'm not paying that over there. And the other thing, you're going to find some unique pieces, some really, you won't see them again. It's that type of stuff. You're going to find that. The other part is that you get to learn. You get to learn about the tribe. You get to learn about the customs. There's also the adventure aspect of the whole trip. And for me, the other part is that you're going to develop contacts. Contacts that are going to really, as you really get to develop them, it's going to open up other opportunities. And to me, my mass hunting situation is an evolving situation. It's changing, it's changed. What I'm doing now is grown so much from even the story I just told you. It's just grown so much. There are some disadvantages. One, you kind of got it. You could be very uncomfortable. We had to move quickly. We didn't have time to eat. That time we traveled up there, I think the only thing we ate was the peanuts. And when we got to the hotel, we had French fries. The next morning, what we had was French fries. We didn't eat that night. By the time we got on the road the next day, I think we had peanuts. And, we didn't really eat until we got back. So we kind of went about 2 days with maybe 2 bowls of French fries and maybe 2 bags of peanuts. That was our meal. So you have to be prepared to make that sacrifice. You got to be patient when you do these trips. I mean, the negotiations that take place in Africa, especially they know you're a foreigner. Oh man. So you could be negotiating for pieces that you're going to sit there, it could be 3 hours, 4 hours, trying to get to a price where you're comfortable and they're comfortable. And there's all of this faking and, we like to play our good cop, bad cop routine. And like Falou says, man, you got to act like you're really a bad cop. I'm always supposed to be the bad cop. And I'm always smiling. He says, you got to look like you, because I'm happy to get the pieces. And he said, no, man, you gotta look like you're mean, man. Like it's hard to look like you're mean when you're loving the piece. But I try to do the best I can to play my bad cop routine. So you got to be patient. You got to be patient. It can be dangerous, not normally, but every now and then. This is the T.I.A aspect. Pay attention, and it could be costly. You're going to have to do things, to travel, to stay in hotels, to eat, and this and that. So you have to be prepared to spend some money. I want to also touch on a little bit is how do the masks get to the dealers? What happens is there's a couple of ways. One is sometimes villagers will just come up to a dealer they know and show them a piece and they'll buy them. And then that mask is available to sell. Sometimes the dealers go to the villages and the villagers see the dealer and kind of know he's coming to buy if you have something to sell. And people need money, they'll sell, or the mask no longer has the power for which it was brought in, or the need has changed. And so the mask has to change to fit the need. So you have to move the other one out. There's a ceremony to sort of decommission it, and then it's to be sold and taken out so that the power of this new mask can come in. So, but that's basically how these masks are coming. People would ask me, is your stuff authentic? It's coming from Africa, from the tribes. They were used in ceremonies. Every mask that we're buying is used in ceremonies. I don't know what authentic is, but that's pretty authentic. I want to talk a little bit also about how do I get these masks out. Now, there's 3 real ways to get them out. How I was doing it initially was coming over there, buying masks and getting suitcases. I would come over, I'd bring 2 suitcases, I hardly bring clothes. I started leaving clothes over there so I don't have to bring a lot of clothes. And I brought 2 suitcases. So that's my 2 that I'm legally allowed to fly on the airplane with. And I'm going to fill them up. And I always tried to buy big suitcases. Suitcases normally about 30 inches. And if you're lucky, you can find a 32-inch suitcase. But in Africa, they have a suitcase maybe 33. You know, that extra inch makes a difference when you're doing diagonal with some of these pieces. So I would buy two suitcases there, pay the extra bag fee on the way back and bring them out. Now, you can't just take 4 bags of artifacts out of Africa. You have to get paperwork. It has to be certified that they're not, you know, being taken from, you know, from people or customs. You know, you have to pay a fee for someone to certify they were bought from a dealer. You have to have the bill from the dealer, and that you know, you're not stealing artifacts in essence. And so they give you those papers, and you go. When you're going now, I had a scene at the airport. I was carrying out 4 bags, you know, loaded with art, and I had checked the bags in, had gone upstairs, was waiting for to get on the airplane, and they called my name. Mr. Bolton, please come down to cargo. So somebody came and got me and took me down to cargo, and they had my bags there, the bags open. And the guys, you know, I don't know English. I mean, I don't know French. So, you know, we were in for it. But I always knew, I always had my cell phone, and I knew Falou would be near. He would never leave the airport till he's sure I'm getting on the airplane. So I know he's somewhere around the airport. And that if I have issues, I can call him and he'll get on the phone and talk to them and tell me what's going on. So when they called me down there, I said, I got papers. They said, you know, I pulled out the papers and they gave it to them, and they looked at the papers and they called a colonel over, and he came and looked and saw the papers and looked at me and looked at the stuff. Signed, he said, everything's all right, any trouble, you have them see me. And that was it. But one thing we always do whenever I'm taking out a lot of items in suitcase, I think if I take a couple in the bag or something, that's not no trouble. But when you're taking 4 suitcases, I don't know, I might even one time took 6 suitcases, I can't remember. But I would try to pack them out and really carry the artifacts. Make sure you have the paperwork. The other way to go is cargo. You know, they have the big containers. And I remember when I was first going there, you would see these big containers sitting in the streets being filled with just artifacts. And I said, oh, how much does it cost to ship one of those containers? They said it costs about $2,000. So that's not too bad. And but the issue is with the containers, you got to fill them. And those big 20 feet, 40 feet containers, I figured you got to put about 600-700 pieces of art in there to fill it. Unless you get big pieces, it's going to cost you about $20,000 to fill it, and even at those prices. And so, you know, I wasn't spending that type of money. And so that wasn't the way to go for me. For some of the big pieces we got, we wait till we accumulate it, and then we ship air cargo. That was cheaper, quicker, but there's costs associated with that. You know, and it builds up slowly. So when you're shipping air cargo, like I was doing for those bigger pieces, you got to wrap them, protect them. You're going to have to transport them. In our case, when we're doing Burkina Faso, you had to transport them to the capital. You got to pay an expediter to set up the cargo for you. You got to pay the fee with the airline. To bring them into America, you got to get a custom agent to clear them. You got to get a truck to pick up the pieces, and I always need helpers. I can't carry that heavy stuff. So you rent it. So you can see that it does build up in terms of cost, but that's how I get them out. And so I usually accumulate some of the bigger pieces, and once I have enough to ship, you know, then we do like an air shipping. And right now we've been shipping maybe every other year. I'm shipping big pieces in. So I have doors and some of the real big pieces, big statues and all of that. That's kind of my talk. I hope you found it interesting. I know there's going to be some questions and answers and dialogue, but I hope you get a sense of what it's like to be over there to do this.
Hey, thanks, Al, man. That's the best. I have a question just to start off. You know, the Kotas that we have here in the exhibition,
Yes.
You said that most of the masks that you have were performed. Do you think the kotas were actually used?
Oh, listen, you got to know something about kotas. Number one, there's only probably about 3,000 kotas in the world. And they were all used for ceremonies, all of them. So if you look at the detail on the kotas, you know there's nobody just kind of trying to reduplicate them. They were all involved in that. I've seen kotas selling, online and stuff really cheap. And when I investigate them, they're broken, they're this, they're that, there's damage, this and that. So, but the kotas we have were all used in ceremony, yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they're all used. And don't forget what the kotas were to protect the relics. If you ever see, the relics were held in like sort of a big bag or container, and the kotas were there to make sure you didn't come touch, to scare you, the spirits and all that, to make sure that you did not come and disturb those relics. And so that was there. That's why they're mean looking. That's why they're there. And the way you have them on the pedestal is perfect, because that's exactly the only difference is they would be a bundle of relics, bones, and don't forget these relics were powerful people. They were the relics of powerful people, powerful chiefs and fighters and so on and so forth, that were there to protect the village. They believed the spirit was still in those bones, and those kotas were there to protect and make sure you stay away.
And those the legs, which seem like legs, that diamond shape that's in the legs sits beneath the surface of the basket.
That's right. That's right. Half of it was beneath the bundle, and the other half was shown. And when you look at the kotas, that's how you know how authentic they are. You should see the bottom half of it is usually worn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of them even broken, because they're not going to get air and all of that. And they're usually darker and worn out. So that's one of the keys you're looking at, is to look at that. Yeah.
So if anybody has a question, just raise your hand and we'll try to get you unmuted so you can talk. I'll just keep talking with Al until someone decides to do that.
Okay.
Because we've had a lot of conversations in the office about some of the different pieces that you have. And I know currently you said you've got like 30 pieces waiting for you in Burkina Faso.
Oh, actually, it's more than that now. We probably got about 50.
Uh-huh.
We just bought 16.
Right. So there's those amazing ones that you're telling me about that have the skulls in them, the monkey skulls.
Oh, yeah. That one, I can't wait to bring that. There's two that's waiting for us there that are very, very unique. One, it's actually two statues where they're made with monkey skulls, actual monkey skulls. Now, this is from the Lobi tribe. The Lobi tribe, they try to have statues that represent different spirits. So that you can have good spirits, you can have bad spirits. But these particular statues, they're monkey skulls and they're tied up. What the heck is that? So they were tied up with rope, man. That's got to be some real scary stuff. I'm waiting to try to get more of the story on them. And by the time we get them back here, we'll have more of the story. We've been talking about doing an exhibition, and that's going to be definitely one of the pieces that we're going to talk about and highlight. That's one of them. We have another piece that we ran into. That's it's a terracotta of a woman, sort of a pregnant woman. And it's rare because the head comes off. And it was used for women who were sterile. You would, do some ceremony stuff and put it into the stomach and of this piece, and come out. And we bought this piece from a woman whose grandmother gave it to her, and she was selling it because when the grandmother died, she felt they would take the piece, it would be taken from her, and she couldn't get any value for it. So we have a Lobi representative who happened to be going through the village at that time. It was offered for sale, and we bought it. And the grandmother had it, and the grandmother had got it from her mother. The grandmother was 80, She had got it from her mother. Her mother had used it when she was sterile, and got the grandmother. Grandmother had used it and got this woman's mother, and then of course the woman. So there's some history to this stuff. We can't wait to deal with that piece. We'll be talking about that, and it's really rare. You know, it's rare because the head of it has a bone going through the lip, and the Lobi stopped doing that in the 30s. So we know it's got to be 100, 150. It's got to be 100, 150 years old, and it'll be interesting to see how that comes along.
So the one with the monkey skull, you told me that the reason you're able to acquire it is because the generation, like the son, doesn't
That's right.
Enough, or they're
yeah. What happens? Why? The Lobis really believe. Let's talk about the Lobi for a quick second.
Yeah.
This was a tribe that wasn't fully colonized. They fought the French to a standstill. The most that happened is they got some administrative control of the area, but you could never subdue, really get these Lobis to cooperate. And as a result, a lot of the Order of the Lobi didn't kind of get into collectors' hands until about 1970. And and people even today, nobody wants to kind of talk about the Lobi because it's just like such a fussy tribe, and it's just really, they're difficult to deal with. I mean, we could tell you we negotiate with them. You should see what we go through. Everything is a trip to the fetish. Everything is you got to do ceremonies to get an answer, and they're very, very difficult. And so they believe in the power, and this particular, I don't know the story of these monkey statues, or the monkey head statues, but the Lobis believe in good spirit and bad spirits, and the bad spirits you got to keep close and you must worship it. If you don't, there's going to be harm to the family. And this particular family was worried that their children would not keep up the ceremonies, and bad stuff was going to happen to them. So they wanted to sell and get those out of there. So they did a decommission ceremony. We happened again, had a representative going through that, and we were able to buy that. And we're going to get the full story. We plan to go there. We're going to get the full story, and we'll present that. We hope to do an exhibition, and that'll be one of the features, that the terracotta and so on and so forth, and whatever else great stuff we're going to discover when we can get there.
Yeah, because that's what you were saying, that you have to get papers from a dealer. So if you make a deal, if you buy directly or get the piece directly from the tribe like that, then do you have to have a dealer sign off on it?
We still have to get a dealer. We're going to have to make believe that we kind of bought it from the dealer. We have dealers, and they can give us paperwork.
I see. Because you acquire a lot of work in that way, in this kind of direct contact.
Right. I mean, that's when I talked about this mass hunting has evolved. That's the evolution. We're now going into the village.
You and your guys, some of
yeah. We have a group of us. It's me, Falu, and we have a dealer over there, and so it's kind of the three of us running. And we now, we're going into the villages ourselves, and it's powerful because they know at least I'm a foreigner. You can look at me. They're speaking French. I'm mumbling, so they know a foreigner is hit, and there's an opportunity, to get paid. So people need money. They're suffering there. When you go, one of the things that really gets you is how much suffering the population goes through. When we were up at this village, I mean, you could see the pants were tatted, shirts were really faded. You could tell there's no money. So when you come there and you give gifts or you buy stuff, you're stimulating that economy. You're helping those people. When we're buying masks because there's sickness in the family and they need money for medicine, and we're buying them, we're helping them in that sense. And we're not there to take anybody's artifacts from them, or we're not there to entice you to give. Or, we're basically traveling through, and people are stopping us. And it's for an opportunity to help themselves And, so I'm kind of happy in that sense that we're getting good art, and we're also doing something for the people.
Got you, Al.
Yeah.
Al, can I ask a quick question? It's Nary.
Yeah, how you doing, Nary?
Good, man. Thank you for the stories. It's amazing. I really enjoyed them. I guess I'm just curious about what you mentioned, which is the bargaining that goes on for hours, and who sets the values, right? It's so subjective. So is it based on what? What are the criteria to these values that you're negotiating?
Yeah, you asked a good question, because that's how I started out. I didn't know. When I went there, the first thing I had to do is, what's the value of money? When I was going there, the dollar was worth 590 CFAs. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. How important is 590 CFAs to people? And so you start to try to equate that. Well, how much CFAs do you need to live for an average person? And maybe at that time it was 3,000 CFAs. Well, then I can start to get a sense of value. But basically, it's going to be a trial and error. It's going to be a trial and error learning thing, because number one, they know you're a foreigner. You know what that means. You're an American too. Oh my God. That price is going to be set. It's like they're looking for their retirement fund. And so when they offer you a price, that's them shooting for the moon. So there's kind of a rule. We said, we know we're going to be at least 50% of that, but we're going to open up maybe 10%, 20% of that and start negotiating from there. So here he's got a price where he's looking to buy a Cadillac, and you've got a price where, you're going to give him $10. And so now the negotiating starts, and it takes a while for him and you to start coming down to where you think this is going to land. And that's why it takes hours, because there's a long way to go. And, you just have to, it depends. They're trying to read your face. How badly do you want it? And I was, especially in the beginning, I didn't have that good poker face. So they'd be holding out. And, Flu was always cracking. Come on, you got to look mean, man. You got to act, And, a couple of times we stomp off and walk away, and they chase us down. Okay. And everybody's going to, and sometimes, we left stuff on the table. We couldn't agree. You have to be willing to, say we're going to walk. And that's what we do. You hate to leave it, but there's other pieces. And one thing I learned, one thing I've always said, if I don't have it, I don't miss it. I'm not missing anything I can't get. So if I really want it, we'll find a price. We won't walk away, we'll find the price. And there's some pieces where I said, we got to get that. We got to at least get that one. And then we come up with strategies. What we try to do is, like, we would try to buy a group. You get a where he got to settle. He wants that. He's counting the dollars. And so, and we're really looking for this one piece in that group. And so we started negotiating. He's, the money now instead of that one is like, and so, you kind of try to bring that in. There's other things you learn when you pick out pieces. Don't all of a sudden see something else and want to add to it. Oh man, price shoots right back up. So make sure when you start your bargaining, you've got everything that you want in that bargain. And then you have to be patient. You have to be patient. You got to know about where you want to come in at. And again, you start, after you've been doing this a while, you sort of get how to determine value. You want it, they want to sell it. Can you agree? And they're gonna be asking 10 times the price you're gonna settle for. That's the other reality. They know it and you know it. Now the question is, who's gonna blink first? And like I said, we've walked away from pieces. Some I wish I had, but you ask me now what they are, I don't even think about it, because once I walk away, that's it. I don't go back. I don't change. Sometimes there was a dealer. Every time we went to him, his price was so super high. I just wouldn't even waste my time when I go there. I don't even go by him anymore. He said hi, you know, I just keep going. I'm not gonna waste my time because I know he's always in the mood. He wants a tourist, and tourists will pay that. You know, if you don't know what you're doing, they'll pay that. We just skip that, and we won't do that.
So, sorry, one other thing. So what's, I'm sure there's a market that's evolved from just people, artisans, making the work for the tourists, right? And doing, you know, embellishing it in a way that, I don't want to call it fake, but it isn't ceremonial, but it's made for the market.
Well, it's a copy, not used in a ceremony. And usually what happens, like you go to Abidjan, they have a tourist area, Kava, they have a tourist area up on the plateau. I mean, you can kind of tell what's for tourists. It's painted, it's this, it's nice and shiny, it's pretty, but so you kind of know that. We chase traditional African art, and you can tell that too. You can tell something that's been worn, something that's been used, something that's, you know, one, it won't be shiny, it won't be this, it won't be that. You know, you can kind of, it takes, I have to admit, the early stuff I bought, I'm not too proud of. Took a while to try to get what I call the eye and get a sense of it. But once we kind of zoned in on what we need to collect, the collection is really good. You know, now really good stuff. You know, now we're focusing on tribes. You know, I get these themes. We're focusing on Kotas. We're focusing on this, and you know, now it's much more dead. Yeah.
And for you, Lobi is kind of your primary focus.
Well, right now, yeah, Lobi, 2 years, you know, we're about 2 years into the Lobi. We have some really stuff on the fire, hot stuff right on the fire. We're waiting. The country just had a military takeover January 23rd, shut down for a while. We're waiting to go to a festival there. We've already got permission. We've been working 1 year to get permission to film it. We've got permission to interview carvers, interview the head fetisher guy. This one's going to be pretty exciting. Like I said, this is the evolution of the mask hunter, where, you know, I'm not really I'm trying to get, I guess, the human aspect of this. You know, art, this is not, I mean, we look at this and we say it's art. It's not art for them. This is representations of ancestors and spirits, and they worship them. And I want to capture that type of thing. If I do an exhibition, I hope I can bring that aspect of it out. I don't want an exhibition where we talk about art for art. I really want to talk about the use and the effect. There's, you know, I ran into pieces that deal with ED, erectile dysfunction. And you say, wait, you know, Africans are supposed to be the super thorough, and yes, they have so many. It's an issue for everybody. And it's life. That's what you see, these statues represent life. Sterility in women, it represents life. They want fertility. They need kids to keep the tribe alive. So there's fertility. So everything is real here. We want to get that aspect out. And I want to see an exhibition that's what it's about. It's not about, this is made from, you know, wood, and it's got copper, and it's this and it's that. And look at the lines, you know, yeah, there's that aspect of it, but that's not what it's about for me. And if I can kind of put this exhibition together, that's where it's going to go.
And you're working on a documentary too, aren't you, Al?
Well, the documentary is just part of it, you know, because we're filming everywhere. We have what you see in the background. We have film on that. And early as we were filming, you hear me in one of the films saying, you know, this is like National Geographic, because that's what it felt like. We were right there with sort of, I don't want to use the word primitive, but this is a natural thing for this tribe, and we were a witness to it. The Lobi don't let people film, and we got permission to film. They're not going to let us film everything. Of course, we're going to try. We're going to try to seduce them with our kindness, this, and our sincerity, to let us film as much as they can let us film. We'll stop when they tell us to stop. We'll go when they tell us to go. We're always trying to see if we can get a little closer.
Is that's out of pure curiosity or wanting to
It's
know?
all curiosity for me. It's two things, curiosity and respect.
Mhm.
I think the Lobi's a great tribe. How they survived all this time and not have been swallowed up tells you about their greatness. And their greatness really comes from their belief and from their participation in this with these artifacts, with these statues. And you can see the younger kids are not in it. There's gold in the area. They're in gold hunting. They buying motorcycles. The huts are not mud anymore. They're trying to build brick houses. So everything is changing. And you know, we're going to be witnessing sort of that crossover from the Lobi now. There'll always be Lobis living in the mud huts and all that, but you know, I lost something. You saw me? I'm gone?
No, you're
Whoa.
there, Alan. We see you.
I don't see, I see something. What's sales team? Is that you? What is that? You know? You know what this is? Do you all see me still?
Yeah, we see you, Al.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't see you. Wait. Oh, where is my? Oh, here. Got my daughter help me out here. I don't know what happened. I lost the picture with you guys. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, you won't get technical stuff from me.
I have a question.
We have
Yes.
a question, Jody.
So what is kind of a two-part question, but in terms of the money that you pay I'm wondering how that money gets spread out in amongst all of the villagers in that particular thing. But the second part of the question is, what happens if a particular group of people is very, very poor, so they really want to sell you these things, and then they don't have any left? So then what do they use in their own ceremonies, and how do they make something that is, you know, that is effectively religious, even though they're making it right now and it's not 100 years old and it hasn't been.
Well, it's a great question, has a lot of different parts. But number one, if someone has a particular statue or something that they're using that has power, they're not selling it to you. There's no way. A lot of times when you go into these caves, some of these statues have been in there for 100 years. They go back generations. And they may or may not have that power for the person who's currently worshiping there. Some of the statues we bought have been around, and maybe they don't have that type of power. There's a new statue or something that's been added. If they have to get statues, you know, there's a way they buy them. Julian Bosch has a book out where he talks about different levels of carvers. There's some carvers that you can buy them real cheap, and there's some really carvers who are really detailed and their stuff is expensive. So there's always something you can afford to get if you need it. And so that's one thing you learned about the tribal. And they're not going to sell you anything that's really working for them. You're not getting that. You're getting something that has been either and then they don't just sell, they have to decommission. They have to go through a sacrifice ceremony before they can even bring it out. And so sometimes when they bring it out for you to buy, like they brought out some pieces and we didn't want to buy it. They said, but you got to take it. Why do we have to take it? Because they decommissioned, you got to take it. So we had to buy it. But we didn't buy it for the prices that they wanted because we didn't really want the pieces. But that's what happens sometimes. You get stuck in the middle of this stuff. And it goes, but they need money. They'll look around and say, okay, what is it that we can give up? And they do a sacrifice to release that spirit and sell it to you. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Oh, you asked me another one about the money. In this, when we went to visit the Torah tribe, the money we gave to the different chief and they used to kind of help the ceremony, you know, buy liquor, food, whatever. But that's when parties started, and you know, you felt good to, you know, we always go in trying to help. You know, we know you could see the suffering, and we try to help, and that's so we will always go with a gift first. All this negotiation we do this with the Lobi. We heard that the head fetisher was sick, and he wouldn't go to the hospital. So we sent some money over and said, look, tell him we're sending money, so he has to go to the hospital now. And he was near death, and they took him to the hospital, and after a couple of months, he healed. So he's the same guy we're going to now to ask for filming and all of that. And we had no promises. We didn't come with anything. We just heard he was sick. We hope to get well so we can attend the festival. And that's how that is. So that's the type of stuff we like to do. Okay, so, yeah. Any other questions?
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
Yes,
Please.
that's my friend Falu.
Yes.
Hey, Falu.
In terms of the last question that was asked,
Yes,
you know, for example, with the Lobi tribe, you have, you know, individual families, and each family, you know, they have their own masks and their own fetish and their own beliefs. And then you have, on the larger scale for the entire village, you have masks and pieces. So what we tried to do, we tried to go to the individual families and purchase masks from them, because it's their religion. So it's like the family that's there, the grandparents, the great grandparents, they all have these pieces that are there. And, you know, like Al said, they sell some, but there's some that they're not going to sell.
that's right. They're using them. You're not buying them. They're not gonna sell them. They're not gonna, you know, find themselves in bad situation for money. And that's the truth of that matter.
So
And they believe it before they plant crops. When the crops are you know, when it's harvest time, if someone dies, if someone's sick, should this person marry this person? You know, all of these questions are put to their different masks.
Right.
And
That's again what I was talking about. We want to get the human element of the mask and the statues, and not so much the art aspect of it, because there's an art. They're beautiful as they stand on their own, but now, you know, how are they used? Why are they used? What's the purpose? That's kind of what we want to get into.
But I like the fact that it seems that the belief in the object is stronger. Its spirit is stronger than the attraction of the money at some point. So they're not going to sell something if it's, I mean, not only the belief, but the power of that work is more.
Well,
powerful.
yeah, I mean, you know, but things, like I said, things evolve over time for them too. You know, like I said, we bought some masks, the monkey mask, because of the fear that the kids would not continue to worship like they have to be, not treated properly. And there's going to be danger to these kids as they get older. And they had to get the mask out of them. They had to get them out. Yeah, they had to get them out. And we happened to be coming by and we bought them.
Could I ask a blanket question, Al?
Yes.
With all this progressive ideas about artifacts being taken from the country and in European museums and have them brought back, are you concerned that you're taking things that should in a much more evolved expectation be kept in the museums in the region?
I want to talk about that because, you know, one of the things that you read is I have 600 pieces and I've sold none. Why haven't I sold them? Well, I had to wrestle with that exact question. I wrestled with that question when I had about 200 statues. I have them in I had about 50 or 60 in my office. And I was looking at them and I had been reading about all of that. Now I know I'm not going there taking them, I'm buying them. And they're being offered for sale. So I'm not taking them. Don't forget what's in museums and all that was taken and stolen for most of them. You know, when you hear 90% of the art of Africa is located outside of Africa, 90%. You know, most of that was taken. We're not taking, we're buying. So that's number one. But I was looking at I had to sleep in my office. You know, I'm a tax guy, and sometimes I have to sleep in my office to stay up on the level of work. And I'm looking at the mask, and I said, I bought you guys. Why aren't I happy? And that night I went to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I had this sense that says, you know why you're not happy? You don't know us. You got to know us. I realized at that moment, my intent was purely commercial. I wanted to get the mask, sell some money, make some money, and this and that. And I felt so guilty. And I said, I'm not selling. I talked to Falou about it. He understood. I said, look, you know, we gotta get deeper with this stuff. And that's what we've done. And so because of that feeling, we're now arriving at what I'll call our Lobi moment, where we're so deep into this tribe. And I think we're gonna do some justice to this tribe at some point, I really believe. And because the intent is there. Now I'm ready to sell some of the stuff I have because the conflict is over for me. And eventually I'll start to sell some of the pieces, especially the earlier pieces. I know what I want now. I probably need that. I want maybe about 200 of the 600, well, maybe almost 700 now. Who the hell knows how many we got now? We still got stuff over there. And when we go, there's going to be more stuff offered. So, you know, I would not be surprised. We're going to have about 700 pieces, over 700 pieces after this next trip. So, but, you know, we'll start to sell some and, you know, reduce the inventory. But we're going to be focusing now and really trying to get the human aspect of what's taking place over there.
Al?
Yes.
We got to stop.
Okay.
I only made the meeting for an hour and a half, so they're going to pull the plug if we don't pull it on ourselves.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And if you want to hear more, you should go to Al and do some taxes, and you can talk about this stuff.
I don't know now. It's very busy, man. It's hard to even spend time talking. But thank you so much, everybody.
I know it's gonna be hard to get back to talking about taxes next time I come.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I have an appointment coming up at 7. You know, I'm gonna, whether I want to or not, I gotta get going. So, thank you so much.
Al, can I just introduce myself? I'm sorry for getting
Please.
on.
Yeah, come on in.
I'm Eric Edwards. I don't know.
Hey, how you doing, Eric?
So a friend of mine told me to get on your call, and I was in a meeting, so I just got there. I'm late, so I'd like to get a chance to meet you sometime in the future.
Eric, number one, you were my incentive to start doing this. And I met you at I forgot, you had a show in Bedford-Stuyvesant, I forgot the area, and I went there. We met each other and so on and so forth. I actually have your card. Let's get together. I got your card. I'm gonna give you a call.
Yeah, give me a call.
Yeah, that's unfortunately I have to do this after tax season. So
I just wanted to introduce myself.
Thanks so much, man. This is the greatest collector. To me, he is the greatest African collector in the world. If you see his collection.
Can I say something? I need to say something, Al, because I met Eric when I was a young knucklehead artist. And I remember a young lady brought me to his collection, and I didn't know anything. And I remember asking him, "You really make money out of this stuff?" And now I just have to apologize, and I'm glad.
Yeah, this is the greatest. He's the guy that was my incentive. You've honored me so much to just appear, man. I can't wait to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm
We've
looking-
got a lot to talk about.
Okay,
This is the greatest collector in America to me.
Mr. Edwards, actually, Al was just showing me your articles and your collection the other day when we were in the office. I'm so pleased that you made it in here today.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. We'll be talking hopefully again. Bye-bye.
Absolutely.
Good.